Well, good morning, everybody. Welcome. April 4th, Spring County Commission meeting. I'd like to call the meeting in order and Mr. Jones.
Present.
Commissioner Rivera.
Here.
And Commissioner Ghost are also here. If you stand and go ahead and play the lead.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Item 3, a public hearing. We do not have a public hearing this morning. Item 4, comments from the public. Take any comments in person here. We'll start out that way from the public. All right, doesn't look like there appears to be any. How about online? Anybody want to make a comment? Last chance in person or online. Commissioners, I entertain a motion for the public comment.
I move to close the public comment. Second.
Moved and seconded. Any further discussion? Hearing and seeing none, all those in favor, signify by saying aye, please.
Aye.
Aye, opposed, same sign, please. That carries. Item 5, disclosures. Commissioner Jones, any disclosures?
Nope.
Commissioner Rivera.
I haven't.
And I have none also. Considerations of changes on the agenda. I'd like to remove item 9 from the agenda. There's been this note out today. Here, I think you have a change.
Just one addition, if I may. Rebecca Maddox from the ski area came in this morning asking it. Well, I've had conversations with her. I don't think she realized the time frame, and we weren't sure whether or not they needed a catering permit, but they're going to dispense alcohol from the front of the lodge on Saturday and Sunday, so the 8th and 9th from 11 to 4. And so it's at their location. Hopefully the sheriff's fine with that. They're not taking it outside of it's still going to be there, but because it is outside of their dispensing area, they do have to have a catering permit. So I would ask if I could add that. So it would be present for approval, catering permit for Ski Wild LLC doing business as Snowy Range Ski and Recreation Area on April 8th and 9th from 11 to 4. And they just called it the end of season party. I'm sorry. Yeah. Yeah.
Can we put that on at 19A?
That's perfectly fine. Yep. Thank you.
Any other changes? Super. All right. Moves us to 7, approval of the consent agenda. Commissioners, I entertain a motion. However you'd like the consent agenda.
I move that we approve the consent agenda as amended.
I second.
Moved and seconded. Any further discussion? Hearing and seeing none, all in favor, signify by saying aye.
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 Aye, all opposed, same sign. That motion carries. That moves us on to the regular agenda. Item 8. Proclaim April 2023 as Child Abuse Awareness and Prevention Month. Is Sarah with us online? I don't know that I see her. Well, anybody? I don't believe Sarah. Should we just move on down the list and see if she'll join us and then come back to 8, or we just want to handle 8?
I think we can just handle it.
I do too. I don't
Okay.
know what you have to add to that.
Okay. And the proclamation for the county commissioner reads, County Commissioner's Proclamation, Child Abuse Awareness and Prevention Month. Whereas children are our future, no child should suffer abuse and neglect, and whereas victims of child abuse and neglect are known to be at a higher risk for experiencing post-traumatic stress disorder, depression, low academic achievement, drug use, juvenile delinquency, teenage pregnancy, and adult criminality. Every child is precious and deserves to grow up in a healthy, safe, nurturing environment, free from harmful effects of abuse and neglect. And whereas an estimated 100 children in Wyoming are victims of abuse and neglect each year, and whereas effective child abuse intervention and community prevention programs succeed because of partnerships created among community members, social services and law enforcement agencies, schools, churches, and civic organizations. Whereas each April, Child Advocacy Centers of Wyoming, the Children's Trust Fund Board, Prevent Child Abuse Wyoming, Wyoming Citizen Group Panel, the Wyoming Department of Family Services, the Wyoming Office of Attorney General Division of Victim Services, the Wyoming GAL program, the County of Albany, Wyoming, and other partners joined together in an effort to prevent abuse and neglect through outreach, education, and intervention. Now therefore, I, Pete Gosar, by virtue of the authority vested in me as chairperson of the county commissioners of the county of Albany, Wyoming, do hereby proclaim the month of April 2023 as Child Abuse Awareness and Prevention Month. And in witness whereof I have hereunto set my hand and caused the official seal of the county of Albany to be affixed this 4th day of April 2023. Yes, we just need to accept that proclamation. And entertain a motion.
I move that we proclaim April 2023 as Child Abuse Awareness and Prevention Month.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any further discussion? Hearing and seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye, please.
Aye.
Aye, all opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Move to item 10, the 9's been removed. Discuss possible changes to the planning department's office hours. Dave, good morning.
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, Commissioners, I'm just here to discuss to see what your thoughts are. We've been discussing in my office potential 4-day work week. Right now, our office hours are from 8 to 5, Monday through Friday. What we have been talking about and may be considering is a 7:30 to 5 Monday through Thursday work week. Since the commissioners a few years back allowed employees to go to a 4-day work week or 4-day schedule, 2 of us have taken advantage of that, and then I have my two other full-time people would like to do that as well. And so we've discussed kind of how that would look. And one of the options would be to close on Fridays and then just have everybody in the office from Monday through Thursday. So really, the planning department's not like the treasurer's office, who gets lots and lots of people that come through it. We may get 5 or 10 on a really, really super busy day. That doesn't happen very often. Usually our busy days would be like a couple people coming in. A lot of the work that we do is via email, telephone, people mail in their applications. And anything like any of the bigger projects, public applications, subdivisions, conditional uses, we require them to meet with us anyways, and typically they call and make appointments. Yeah, I mean, this isn't something that's new or out of sync. Moon Bridge currently does a 4-day work week. I mean, I think they have different reasons for doing that, obviously, because of the travel time for the part of the county. But I just wanted to bring it to you to see what you guys thought. I mean, the one thing that would be obviously different is the courthouse would be open and then we would not be on Friday. So if that's a big deal, then that's a big deal. So I guess what are your thoughts on this? I'm looking for direction. I'm not. If this is something we decide to do, we would come back to another meeting with. I think we need a resolution and we maybe a variance from personnel manual or something as well. So I don't want to go through all that trouble if you guys are like, no, let's just stay, 5 days a week. So.
David, do you ever have deadlines that are due on Friday from people? Does that happen very often? Applications or any subsequent submissions or an application or anything? Are there deadlines that fall on Friday?
I mean, like for us to a deadline to like an applicant or whatever, potentially, yeah. I mean, we can kind of say when our deadlines are. It's like, hey, you've got your subdivision application in, and you need to get us these things. We could set it for a Friday. I mean, we don't have any like standing deadlines that are on.
That's what I mean. Okay. Nothing like that. And do you foresee any situation where somebody might leave the courthouse, say the assessor's office, and need to complete whatever they're doing at the planning office and you're not open?
I mean, that's a possibility too. I mean, a lot of people show up at the courthouse looking for us anyways, and it might be on a Friday and they might send them over to us on a Friday. Yeah. I mean, I wouldn't say that happens very often. We just, like I said, we just don't have a whole lot of traffic, but usually Friday is a slower day for the most part, but then every once in a while it'll be a Friday where there's lots of people,
And is that true in the summer as well, when in the construction season, Starts.
Yeah, I mean, I would say the most traffic we get is like on a Monday. And then we get a little bit of trickle in the rest of the week. You know, and that being said too, is that even if we had the office closed on a Friday, we do have a Dropbox, people could drop off applications. And it doesn't mean that staff aren't going to work on Fridays ever, you know, because there's a lot of times that I'll have meetings that I'll need to go to, and, you know, and I work around that with my schedule now, but, so, yeah.
I personally do not see a problem with this because from time to time, not on a regular basis, you walk in, county attorney's office closed on Friday afternoon. And to me, that's an office that needs to be open a lot more than the planning and zoning. And if you guys see that you were having a week where it was going to be busy, I'm sure that you'd stay open. But I think that that's a really good thing for employees to be able to have the benefit of that if they want it.
And I would echo both Commissioner Barron and Commissioner Jones. I don't seriously don't have a problem with it. I think helping people like their jobs is really important. I think maybe being open at 5 or at 7:30 would be helpful. Whereas maybe not being on a Friday from 8 to 5 or 9 to 5 would not be as helpful. So before work, you have access to people, that's always useful. So I don't know, I don't have any problem breaking
Yeah, I like the flexibility.
back that. And I guess the only concern would be the DEQ and you guys, but I don't know that that's a big item. And then communicating this to the general public.
Right.
Some sort of idea on how to do that for us.
Yeah, we would put it in the paper and obviously Facebook and other areas to let people know the change. And it wouldn't, even if we brought everything, we got approval, we'd probably take another month to make sure that we got that information.
Yeah.
As long as there's a sign on the door that says, we're closed on Fridays, we're open Monday, and you know, the hours, I think that's no problem.
Yeah, sure.
Would you just be open to the public from 7:30 to 5? Because 7:30 to 5 isn't 40 hours, is it, from Monday through Thursday?
Yeah, we would be there, earlier.
Earlier and later, but you would
Yeah.
just be open to the public for
Yeah,
that.
that would give us like a half hour in the morning.
Gotcha, I figured that was.
And that's
the
always
case, but
helpful.
Yeah, that's usually helpful.
Yeah.
We know that, yeah, because we're open at 8, or we're there at 8, but obviously we won't. Okay, so that's what I'm thank you.
Yeah, ready.
No, and I think you can, so it's defined, I believe, in the employee handbook on page 16, that the hours of work are from, or that the courthouse is open,
Yeah.
that the departments are open during the work days, which are then defined as 8 to 5, Monday through Friday. So I don't even think it needs to be written. I think you can grant a variance from that to the planning department effective on a certain date to be open beginning at 7:30 a.m. and closing at 5 Monday through Thursday until further order of this board.
Okay. Yeah, well, my guess is I would go after it.
Okay, okay.
See you again here
All right.
later.
Perfect, thank you.
Thank you. Item 11, ratify amended grant application for the Wyoming Office of Family Services Community Juvenile Services Board Grant 2023-2024 Bailey Good morning.
Good morning, commissioners. So I just have one item. I'm so excited. So this is what CJSD has decided to do this year is during legislature, there was some other things that came up that they needed clarification on from every county that does receive these funds. So they did an amended application. Technically, our agreement goes already through June 2024 with them for the $63,000. And we actually already have a contract in place with Big Brothers Big Sisters to do the work for us, again, through 2024. So they really just needed to check the box for all the legislation purposes. And this is just that application. We did have a CJSD meeting last week. Commissioner Barron was there. And one of the things that was brought up is ever since I've been here, the money has just gone to Big Brothers Big Sisters for their diversion services. And it's something that we may want to bring up in the future to possibly change. But at this time, your current contract does go through 2024, so maybe the next application would be a good time to bring that up again.
Commissioners, any questions for David? Entertain a motion for item 11, please.
I move that we approve item 11 as presented.
Second,
Moved and seconded. Any further discussion? Hearing and seeing none, all in favor, signify by saying aye.
I,
Aye, all opposed, same sign. That motion carries.
baby, it's not like you get to go home now.
I know. Well, I feel like I'm always.
I know, right? Stuff.
It may feel like that.
Church.
2 weeks ago, that's a nice benefit, right? 12, item 12, appoint Kate Allred as the Albany County Emergency Management Coordinator and instruct the Albany County Sheriff's Office to seek final approval of the Wyoming Department of Homeland Security and the Governor's Office. Good news today. Okay, Sheriff. Good morning.
Good morning.
So yeah, this item is just to kind of cross our T's and dot our I's, that emergency management coordinator person statutorily required. It's governor approval, and so since we made the decision to appoint her as our emergency coordinator, we just need the okay from the commission to move forward with the Wyoming Department of Homeland Security to get the governor's approval and finalize your position here in Albany County.
So,
Chair, I'd like to accept the appointment of Kate Allred as the Albany County Emergency Management Coordinator and instruct Albany County Sheriff to seek final approval from the Wyoming Department of Homeland Security and Governor's Office.
A second.
moved and seconded. Any further discussion?
I think it's a great choice.
It's super nice to hire from within. So, with no further discussion. All those in favor, signify by saying aye, please.
Aye.
Aye, all opposed, same sign. That motion carries. Welcome aboard, Katie. Good to
Thank you,
you.
Commissioners.
Thank you.
All right, next part of the meeting is morning with Sheriff Appleton. And so item 13, present for approval Wyoming law enforcement and extraterritorial assistance memorandum of understanding between the Albany County Sheriff's Office and Laramie County Sheriff's Office. Sheriff, please.
Morning, this is gonna be repetitive. This is an MOU between us and the Laramie County Sheriff's Department. We share a border with Laramie County, and this allows us to basically work cooperatively for all law enforcement, search and rescue purposes, for any type of either cases or incidents that happen between our two counties.
Sheriff, any questions? Entertain a motion for 13 then.
I move that we approve item 13 as presented.
Second,
Moved and seconded. Any further discussion? Hearing and seeing that, all those in favor, signify by saying aye.
aye.
Aye, all opposed, same sign. That motion carries. Item 14, present for approval, Wyoming law enforcement extraterritorial assistance memorandum of understanding between the Albany County Sheriff's Office and the Platte County Sheriff's Office. Sheriff.
This is literally a carbon copy of the one that we have with Laramie County, because we also share a border with Platte County. For it's the exact same purposes, all law enforcement, search and rescue purposes, that we need to travel back and forth. That we share with us.
14 then.
Move that we approve item 14 as presented.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any further discussion? Hearing and seeing that, all in favor, signify by saying aye. Please.
Aye.
Aye, all opposed, same sign. That motion carries. Item 15, present for approval, Wyoming law enforcement extraterritorial assistance memorandum of understanding between the Albany County Sheriff's Office and Carbon County Sheriff's Office. Sheriff.
This one, I sent you an updated copy earlier this morning. The language is slightly changed, but the MOU is exactly the same. There's just a little bit of legal changes that Carbon County wanted to make in there, but it doesn't change the MOU at all. It's still same memorandum of understanding between us and Carbon County. We share a very large border with Carbon County. A lot of the cases, law enforcement cases that we do, and specific research is shared between that border between us and Carbon County. So, like I said, since you guys that updated copy this morning, that's what we're asking for.
And Sheriff, are the changes only the ones that were in the margin?
I move that we approve item 15 as presented.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any further discussion? Hearing and seeing none, all those in favor, signify by saying aye, please.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. That motion carries. And 16. Present for approval, Wyoming law enforcement extraterritorial assistance memorandum of understanding between the Albany County Sheriff's Office and the Trumbull County Sheriff's Office. Sheriff, please.
Yeah, this one's the same as it was for Laramie and Platt. We're catty corner from the Trumbull County, so we don't necessarily go into their county very often. They don't come into our county very often, but because we share kind of that four corner between us, Converse, Natrona, and Carbon, it's good to have it just in case.
And this is the corner crossing is okay.
Then this corner crossing is definitely with the approval of,
Problem
right, with the approval of this MOU.
I move that we approve item 16 as presented.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any further discussion? Hearing and seeing none, all in favor, signify by saying aye, please.
Aye.
Aye.
Aye, all opposed, same sign. That motion carries. Thank you.
Thank you, commissioners.
17, present for approval of 2023 Wildland Fire Management Operating Plan. Chad, good morning.
Good morning, Commissioner. The sheriff gave me a great segue. We have a similar thing in just that, when the sheriff, if there's a bad guy, they don't look at the map and see what side of the line they're on before they catch that bad guy. We act the same way in fire. So when there's a fire on the landscape, we attack that fire. The Forest Service will, the BLM will, other county agencies will, regardless of, the jurisdiction, so to speak. We're first in resources to take care of that fire or begin to address it, and we'll just jump in it. So the annual operating plan is our guiding document for doing that. It's essentially a massive mutual aid agreement between other counties as well as the federal and state agencies. Allows us to act, allows them to act, and gives some specific provisions for what that looks like when we do so. There is a contact sheet in there, and since Commissioner Rivera brought it to my attention last year, that is a kind of a living end of the document, and we'll submit the new names to that. And that constant state of revision with some of the contacts with chief and fire chiefs and district board members and commissioner. We'll submit a revised version of that. So I ask that you approve this plan. I have a signature sheet that I've given to the county clerk for your signature.
Commissioner, questions? I entertain motion for 17 then.
I move that we approve item 17 as presented.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any further discussion? Hearing and seeing that, all in favor, signify by saying aye, please.
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carried. Thank you, Chad. Appreciate it. 18, discuss budget for the Beach Street property. Jennifer, Tracy, and Kayla. So Jennifer, can take the lead.
I'll start.
All right.
So, we had a meeting, not last week, the week before. Kayla and Bailey and Tracy and I, and Brady was there, and Amanda. And we were talking about, the Beach Street project that we have the RFPs out for now. And as we were coming into budget season, which is why we all had the discussion, then we wanted to have a similar discussion with you guys. Just to give you an idea of where we're at funding and financially wise right now. Between ARPA funding and LATCF funding, we have approximately 4.79 million. That includes the money that's set aside for public health initially, which we're not going to end up needing all of, because public health also has a fund of $500,000 that they can use for a lot of the renovations on the second floor. So Bailey and Kim Maturi have had conversations with the state officials that they need to find out specifically what those things can be used for, so we make sure we're not spending outside of that. Bailey is looking into MRG grants, and we are trying to get a hold of Beth at SLIB to set up a meeting with her about potential loans and rates and to see what else she knows. So currently, the county's debt capacity is approximately Tracy told me exactly, $11,470,328. That will change with the 2%. It has to be 2% of the assessed value of property in the county, so it changes every year. With the existing debt, the county has the bonding through specific purpose, and the airport board loans are currently bonded against the county's debt capacity. Those are older loans. So there's approximately $5.4 million that the county still has in debt capacity that we could take out loans for. So it gives us just over $10 million that we know that we have available right now. We're working, Tracy was looking into some things, Bailey and I are looking into some things, Bailey more than me. I have some conversations about funding for different things, but on a much smaller scale than Bailey. And the guesstimate, because we don't have anything official, is this building is probably going to be about 15 million, all in total to do the renovation of the entirety of the existing building, plus the expansion that we're talking about, which would include additional parking space and all the things that are required for the new building. So we will continue working on our end to see that we have the ability to, whether we decide to or not, depending upon what our hard numbers come in at and what everything looks like, that we have the ability to fund the project. As part of that, especially for this upcoming fiscal year, our request to you as a commission is a lot of the grants and things require like a 50% cash match and all of that. So as you're considering requests from departments in budget and over the course of the next year, if they're not budgeted for, especially for this year, and until we get numbers hammered out and funding hammered out, we would ask that you keep in mind Beach Street and how much it's going to cost us and all of those things. And we wanted to see if you have any questions for us since the last time we talked about Beach Street.
Jennifer, remind me, when is the deadline for the RFQs or?
So the RFQs got turned in. I talked, Jake sent out the things last week. There were 2 RFQs that were returned, 2 each for the remodel of the second floor and the remodel of the first floor and the expansion. So we are going to do interviews with both of those entities, and then we will have one hopefully under contract, I believe, by like the first meeting in May is our hope. And then timeline wise, it looks like for both of them, we would be deciding in late fall whether it was something we were going to be moving forward with project wise or not. So.
Jennifer, do you have an idea of how many people are renting spaces, county employees? You know, where we're just renting only.
So. Drug court rents. Crime victim witness, the 112 building south that my office is in, that rent is split half and half by the county attorney's office and crime victim witness. So victim witness is in there, and then Matt Ayers and I are in there, as well as the county attorney's discovery team is in there. And
I mean, technically, the county EMA's rent too.
well, and EMA, they rent. I don't think we pay anything for their
No,
rent.
but they cut our match.
Yeah, they cut the match for their space out of the fire, for the fire station out on.
If somebody could give me that like monthly rent figure that we pay, that would be great. That would be really helpful. Not just the working hours, but also.
You know what drug court pays off the top of your head?
For the year, we paid close to $30,000 for the entire year.
Total rent,
Total rent.
everybody.
Everybody in drug court.
Everybody in drug court. Ours is $1,500 a month.
Half of it comes from the grant and half of it comes from the attorney's office for your guys.
Yes, but it's $1,500 total.
The one thing, and I did mention it when I brought up drug court, I believe last year, drug court has said we're not paying rent anymore. So the rent that you guys pay for it comes out of your match. Which is matching towards your grant, but drug court has so many grants that we're not hurting for much. We have in kind that we can use towards that too. Crime victim witness keeps getting cut left and right. So again, now that's gonna start coming out of your general fund as well, basically. EMA, again, we don't pay it, but it did hurt our match, so then that's match that you guys have to make up in your grant.
So in total, our rent for the 112, I believe, is about 18,000 a year. I have to do math on it.
That's really, that's good math, yeah, fantastic. And so 30, 18, and then whatever.
48, 5, 52.
Okay, let's ballpark.
Yeah.
Here to work with.
And then,
Oh, go ahead.
sorry, go ahead.
So the rents that will be being paid
Mhm.
for the use of that building. Is there recapture money that comes back on that?
On Beach Street?
Yep.
So the Beach Street grant. So the reason this all got started last fall, we were looking at releasing that second floor space.
Mhm.
And there was a question that came up about whether, once the contract with Laramie Economic Development or whatever they're called now, to manage the building expired, whether we could still continue to pay building management fees out of the grant because it was restricted, or out of the rental funds because it was restricted. So Bailey asked, and I said, I've never seen the grant. I don't know what any of it looks like. So she sent it all to me. And I started looking at it, and then after a series of conversations with Bailey and the state and everybody else, the Beach Street building, when it was built, when that lease was entered into, or that grant was entered into in 2007, it was a 5-year grant. There was no provision in that grant for required rental recapture for economic development purposes after the expiration of that 5 years. So everything we've done since then is in an account. Bailey and Brady are working on splitting it out between the others, the Peatling and others where we know we still have ongoing rental recapture required. But no, there's no restrictions on Beach Street for us to move forward, or any rental recapture issues that we still have to consider there. Is that what you were asking? Yes. Okay. Okay.
I think Jennifer too, you could talk about selling those buildings after too.
Yeah.
which could-
So then after this is all said and done, we will have moved everything out of the Second Street building where public health is, so that building can be sold. We'll also have moved everything out of the Third Street building where planning currently is, so that building can also be sold. So that money would be coming back to the county that could be used to pay down loans. Or the other piece of this is, at some point in the next decade, we're going to need a second district court in the courthouse. So we're gonna have to do some remodeling when that happens. It is probably a solid at least 5 years out before we need that, after I've talked to the state and looked at all of the things, but that's also, it's a little nice that it's further down the line than we thought, because now we don't have to, we know it's coming in, we can save money, but we don't have to be doing all of these things right now. So the sale of those buildings will bring some money back in, as will the reduction in rent.
And maintenance and
And-
IT and everybody
Yeah.
will breathe a huge sigh of relief.
Yeah,
right? Because you have just 2 buildings.
Yeah.
Whatever we have. 10.
and then the 501. I mean, it's up to you. It would be prudent to keep 501 because it's right across the street.
Well, wouldn't we keep IT in that?
Potentially not. We might be able to move well, because if we move all of county services, nothing's decided yet. We had an initial conversation with Adam just really quickly. But if we move all of the county services to Beach Street, we're anticipating having IT space over there as well. There's already a huge data room. But having IT space as well, because essentially, more than half of the county employees will be at Beach Street. And then there's the courthouse. So it may be between the split between the two and the changing of space within the courthouse, that IT when they split between the two, that there's room for them in both buildings, and then we have the 501 available to rent out also as rental income or to do whatever until we need it.
We don't have to provide IT services to public health or the planning and zoning
Yeah.
department.
Right, I understand that,
Yeah.
but it would seem prudent to me that you would have IT right there.
Yes,
And, that building seems to fit them well. And,
it does.
especially when you've got 2 circuit courts in the courthouse. This is just a conversation.
It is, and certainly nothing has been finalized yet, and we don't have any idea yet, but once assuming all of this goes well and we get all of this done, the elections building will also be empty. Because we're moving elections will be part of the clerk's office on like the far east end of the downstairs on the new wing. That'll have an exterior entrance and exit for early voting and all of those things, but it'll make it easier for the clerk's office because it will actually be, there will also be an interior door that comes into the main part of the office so that their workflow isn't as split up during election season.
Yeah, that's good.
Yeah. So lots of potential and nothing in set in stone.
You have to stir the pot for a while. And then
I've
you
been
work it all out.
stirring, we've been stirring frantically.
Well, thank you guys for your work. We do appreciate it. And we'll continue on. Item 19, reappoint Cynthia DeFord to the Albany County Historic Preservation Board for a 3-year term.
I move that we appoint Cynthia DeFord, and it was understood that her term that she was appointed to was only for 3 months.
Okay, that answers one. I'll second that.
Moved and seconded. Any further discussion? Hearing and seeing none, all in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, all opposed, same sign. That motion carries. Thank you to Cynthia for being willing to volunteer for that board. Item 19A, catering permits for Ski Area Wyoming LLC, doing business at Snowy Range Ski and Recreation Area on April 8th and 9th from 11 to 4, I think.
Yep, you said it all.
Yeah.
You need to repeat it again.
Commissioners, any questions? Yeah, I entertain a motion on 19A then.
I move that we approve item 19A as presented.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any further discussion? Hearing and seeing none, all in favor, signify by saying aye. Please.
Aye.
Aye, all opposed, same sign. That motion carries. Item 20, approved vouchers for March 2023.
Move that we approve the vouchers for March 2023.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any further discussion? Hearing and seeing none, all in favor, signify by saying aye. Please.
Aye.
Aye, all opposed, same sign. That motion carries. Seeing no more business before the county commission on April 4th of 2023. Thank you all for joining. Thanks for your work, staff. Really appreciate it and your help. Call the meeting adjourned, and we'll see you in 2 weeks here again on the 18th at 6 p.m.